The NFL is an ever-changing league, and players break out and seemingly disappear all the time. And we are in the offseason of the NFL, and now is generally a good time to thoroughly sit back and assess both players and teams heading into the upcoming season. And this video will be released on June 1st, and for the most part, teams' offseasons are pretty much over. There will be a signing here and there between now and the start of the preseason, which, by the way, guys, is only a little over 2 months away. And unfortunately, there will also be injuries we hear about, like Cam Akers in 2021, who tore his Achilles prior to the start of the last season. But looking from a broad perspective, we are going to discuss a couple of NFL players we are fully buying into heading into the upcoming NFL season. And without further ado, let's begin. And we're going to start today's video with one of my favorite players at the tight end position, and it's second-year player Pat Freiermuth. All things considered, Pat had a pretty good rookie season, as he had 60 catches for 497 yards and 7 touchdowns, and if you follow me on TikTok, then you'll know the stat I'm about to share, but he had more touchdowns in his rookie season than George Kittle has had in any season of his career. And that's not to downplay George or to say Pat is better than George, because it's not, but it is to show how good of a season Pat had, all things considered. He was in an offense that had a 1,200-yard back in Najee Harris, a player that had over 100 receptions and 1,100 yards in Deontay Johnson, and a player who has now had back-to-back 800-yard seasons in Chase Claypool. And for Pat to come in his rookie season and to work with a veteran quarterback in Ben Roethlisberger, who very easily could have just tossed him to the side or basically said, "Earn your stripes, rookie," Pat still made a big impact. And the probable thought you have, or a question you may be thinking, is how can he really eat in this offense now, or what makes you think he will? And my answer to that is Kenny Pickett or Mitch, when times get tough and the pocket is collapsing, will be looking for shallow receivers, and Pat will be there time and time again. He's sure-handed, and I certainly don't think he'll be a big play tight end or have 5+ touchdowns with 20 or more yards this year, but I do think he will be a modernized Heath Miller. And within the shallow target comment, that will also apply to Najee Harris, who had 74 receptions as a rookie. But when times get tough, a lot of the time, rookie quarterbacks like throwing to the big boys because, in a sense, it's a form of reassurance, and they're not throwing to a target the size of Elijah Moore or someone even smaller, and they don't have to be as accurate as they do with a player like Pat Freiermuth compared to the smaller guy. Pat is also a player who, over the final 11 games, saw 66 targets and hauled in 49 receptions during this time, and translating this to a full 17-game season, he would have had a 76-catch, 614-yard season with the kicker here, 9 touchdowns as a rookie, just one short of what Rob Gronkowski had back in 2010. Now, I don't think we'll see that type of leap from Pat, but I don't think it's out of the equation for him to have a 75-catch, 700-yard, 8-touchdown year in just his second NFL season. Next up is Zach Wilson of the New York Jets, who on the stat sheet did not have a great rookie season, and I'll be the first to acknowledge that. But there were times like this play against Denver where you watch the play develop and you can't help but think, what the hell is going on? There were a lot of times where Wilson had nowhere to throw the football and nowhere to go because his receivers simply couldn't get open. And within all of this, there were still some positive flashes, like a big win against the Tennessee Titans, and plays where you saw Wilson's arm come to life and be the prospect we knew he was coming out of BYU. But within that, there were also times where you saw a rookie struggle and saw a player go from BYU to the Big Apple and struggle to make the jump. However, a reason why I'm buying into him big time, and arguably more than any other quarterback from the 2021 draft class, is how much the Jets helped him out this offseason. They used a top 10 pick on a receiver in Garrett Wilson, they drafted the best running back in the draft in Breece Hall, and they had one of the worst tight end groups last year and went out and got CJ Uzomah and Tyler Conklin, who was quietly one of the better signings of this offseason. This roster, I mean, guys, we can call it what it was in 2021. Bad, and their record certainly reflected that, and they have just 6 wins over the past 2 years, which also reflects how bad the Jets have been, but they improved immensely, and they now have a formidable roster heading into the season. Now, do I expect the Jets to step up and challenge Buffalo this year for the AFC East on Zach Wilson's shoulders? No, absolutely not. But do I expect them to be competitive and in nearly every game, and for Zach to have 20 passing touchdowns this year with at least 3,500 passing yards? Yes, I do expect that, and I also expect Garrett Wilson to have at least 700 to 800 yards receiving and start to show, especially by year's end, that the number 10 overall pick was in fact worth it. The Jets are usually the punching bag of jokes, but this is the most I've believed in them in a very long time, and it all starts with number 2 and how he performs. And not only will Zach have improved skill position players everywhere, he will also have an improved offensive line that could have a Pro Bowler in second-year guard Elijah Vera Tucker. This team is no longer the New York Jets everyone can poke fun at and have their jokes with, because if their opponents aren't careful, they will pull out a win, and Zach Wilson will improve in 2022. And next we go to the Mile High City, and there were a couple of players we could have talked about here, but I wanted to go with the second-year running back in Javonte Williams. Javonte had a solid rookie season in which he had 900 yards and averaged 4.4 yards per carry, but his expectations along with everyone else's will increase with Russell Wilson now being the starting quarterback. The Broncos are a team that has seemingly been a quarterback away for quite a while now, and now that they have Russ, heading into the season they quite frankly don't care about the big bad Chiefs or the Chargers or the Raiders. They're focused on winning and the opponent they have in front of them each and every week. And in his rookie season, Javonte had just 2 100-yard games, but did show promise, and Russ has had a lot of things over the past couple of years, but a truly great ground game has not been one of them. He's had a medley of backs over the past half decade or so, from Thomas Rawls to Rashad Penny to Chris Carson and everyone in between. By the way, Chris Carson wasn't a bad back, just not an elite back like Javonte has the potential to be. And Javonte, at just 22 years old, has been watching Russell Wilson for the majority of his life at this point, as crazy as it may sound, and as cliche as this sounds, he probably will work that much harder knowing who his starting quarterback is now and how much closer he is to a Super Bowl title. The Broncos will lean on Javonte quite a bit this year, and I would imagine Russell will very much look forward to going into work every day more than he has in the past couple of years. And with Courtland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy out wide, that will naturally take some pressure off Javonte and open up lanes, because the defense has to account for them, and if not, then Russ will cook. But Javonte is a player who had over 1,200 total yards and 7 touchdowns in year 1, and I fully expect that to inflate to nearly 1,500 yards and 10 touchdowns in a Pro Bowl caliber season in year number 2. And from the Mile High City and 3 AFC players discussed so far, we go to the city of brotherly love and discuss a receiver who's quietly flown under the radar heading into this year, and it is Devonta Smith. And flying under the radar for a previous Heisman Trophy winner does not sound like words you hear often, but it is the case with Smitty. He was the 3rd receiver selected in 2021 and had a 900-yard year in his rookie season, but was overshadowed by a truly generational season from Jamar Chase and by a 100-catch, 1,000-yard year from Jalen Waddle. Both players were excellent, and Chase and the Bengals went on to the Super Bowl, and not only that, but the Eagles had a pretty big offseason and acquired a big-name receiver in A.J. Brown. And when you factor in everything here, Devonta, in a lot of ways, is underrated heading into the season. He had just 2 100-yard games in 2021, but what fans are excited about, and especially Eagles fans heading into this year, is how the opposing matchups will draw and who Devonta will get to go up against each and every week. A.J. Brown, given the production he's had over the past few years and who he is, will receive number 1 corners, and this has Eagles fans salivating. Is Devonta going up against number 2 corners each and every week? And over the final 6 weeks of the season, Devonta was not good down the stretch, as he had just 18 catches for 250 yards and a singular touchdown during that time, and surprisingly cooled down as the season went on. In the first 11 games, he had over 660 yards and was on pace for a 1,000-yard year, but didn't quite get there. And in an offense with Jalen Hurts, both the passer and runner, Miles Sanders, now A.J. Brown, and of course the tight end in Dallas Goedert, defenses are in some ways going to have to keen in on who they plan to stop week in and week out. And a lot of the time they will choose AJ because the NFL isn't exactly a private information league where no one knows what teams gave up or anything in this general vicinity. Teams know the Eagles gave up a first and a third for AJ and paid him a hefty contract, and they will naturally want to feed him the football. And with that knowledge, teams will double team AJ to stop that and have a better shot at creating turnovers, which will lead head coach Nick Sirianni to essentially say to Jalen Hurts, look the other way and let Smitty eat. And he will in 2022 in a big way. And with that being said, that's all I have for today's video. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, now is the time I ask you to please leave a like and subscribe to the channel, as it would truly mean the world. And until next time, as always, please be safe and have a great day. Love you guys.